At 28, William Wordsworth was broken. His inheritance had vanished in bad investments, his beloved sister Dorothy was battling severe depression, and he hadn't written decent poetry in months. Friends whispered he was finished as a writer. But instead of surrendering to despair, Wordsworth developed a set of mental strategies so powerful that modern neuroscience has proven them to be genuine pathways to psychological resilience. What he discovered in his darkest hour can transform how you handle stress, find meaning, and build unshakable inner strength. The first breakthrough came when Wordsworth realized something remarkable about memory. He noticed that certain vivid moments from his past, what he called spots of time, had an almost magical ability to restore his spirits and clarify his thinking. These weren't necessarily happy memories, but moments of intense awareness, watching sunlight break through storm clouds, the sound of his father's voice, the feeling of morning air on his face as a child. Here's what Wordsworth intuitively understood that science now confirms. Our brains can literally rewire themselves through focused recall of meaningful experiences. Neuroscientists call this memory reconsolidation. When we deliberately revisit powerful memories, we strengthen the neural pathways associated with resilience and emotional regulation. Dr. Kareem Nader at McGill University has shown that this process can actually change how our brains respond to future stress. Wordsworth turned this into a daily practice. Every morning, he would spend time recalling and writing about these spots of time, not just remembering them, but actively engaging with the emotions and sensations they contained. The key insight here, and this is crucial, is that resilience isn't built through positive thinking alone, but through deep engagement with moments that made you feel most alive and aware. Let me repeat this differently, because it's so important. Wordsworth discovered that mental strength comes not from avoiding difficult emotions, but from having anchor points of profound experience you can return to. Modern therapy calls this resource building, and it's now a cornerstone of trauma treatment. But Wordsworth's second major discovery was even more revolutionary. During his recovery period, he began taking what he called thinking walks in the Lake District. These weren't casual strolls. They were systematic immersions in nature designed to reset his mental state. He would walk for hours, paying intense attention to natural details, the texture of bark, the sound of water over stones, the play of light on leaves. What Wordsworth stumbled upon was what researchers now call attention restoration theory. Psychologists Rachel and Stephen Kaplan at the University of Michigan have proven that natural environments uniquely restore our capacity for focused attention and reduce mental fatigue. The Japanese practice of forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku, has been shown to lower cortisol levels, reduce blood pressure, and boost immune function within just 20 minutes. But here's Wordsworth's genius insight that most people miss. He wasn't just walking in nature, he was actively dialoguing with it. He would pose questions to landscapes, seek answers in natural patterns, and use what he observed as metaphors for his inner life. This transforms passive observation into active mental training. The practical application is this: nature becomes therapeutic not through mere exposure, but through engaged attention. Wordsworth proved that 15 minutes of focused observation, really seeing the details around you, can shift your entire mental state. And let me emphasize this again because it's so powerful. The healing doesn't come from nature itself, but from the quality of attention you bring to it. Perhaps most remarkably, Wordsworth revolutionized how we think about ordinary experiences. While his contemporaries chased grand adventures and exotic travels, Wordsworth found profound meaning in what he called the incidents of common life: a child playing, an old man gathering sticks, morning light on a familiar hill. This wasn't romantic sentiment, but sophisticated psychology. Modern research on savoring by Dr. Fred Bryant at Loyola University shows that the ability to extract meaning and pleasure from everyday moments is one of the strongest predictors of life satisfaction and resilience. People who can find significance in ordinary experiences report higher levels of happiness and lower levels of depression. Wordsworth's method was deceptively simple. He would choose one mundane moment each day and examine it with the same intensity others reserved for life-changing events. He called this the power of the commonplace, and it trained his mind to find richness everywhere rather than constantly seeking external stimulation. The life-changing principle here is that happiness and meaning aren't found in extraordinary circumstances, but in extraordinary attention to ordinary moments. Wordsworth proved that you can transform your entire relationship with life by changing how you observe what's already around you. But perhaps Wordsworth's most valuable lesson concerns solitude. After his crisis, he spent increasing amounts of time alone, not from social anxiety or depression, but as a deliberate strategy for mental clarity and creative renewal. He distinguished sharply between loneliness, which he saw as a form of mental poverty, and solitude, which he considered essential for psychological wealth. Recent research by Dr. Heather Hansen at Illinois Institute of Technology confirms that people who can use solitude productively show higher levels of creativity, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. The key difference is intentionality. Productive solitude involves engaging with your inner life rather than escaping from it. Wordsworth's solitude wasn't empty time, but structured reflection. He would use these periods to process experiences, plan creative projects, and what he called half-create, allowing his imagination to complete what his senses had begun. This is the secret. Solitude becomes powerful when you use it for active self-development rather than passive consumption. Let me reinforce this crucial point. Wordsworth showed that the ability to be alone with your thoughts, without distraction or entertainment, is actually a trainable skill that dramatically improves mental resilience. In our hyper-connected world, this might be his most relevant teaching. So here's what a depressed poet discovered that can change your life. Resilience isn't built through avoiding difficulty, but through developing systematic practices that restore your mental clarity and emotional strength. The spots of time technique for memory anchoring, engaged attention in nature, finding meaning in ordinary moments, and productive solitude. These aren't just poetic ideas, but practical tools for psychological flourishing. Wordsworth proved that mental strength is learnable, that ordinary experiences contain extraordinary wisdom, and that the resources for healing and growth are always available if you know how to access them. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video.